What's up, gang? How you guys doing? This is Lieutenant Sal Blue, 28-year law enforcement veteran and the author of the top 25 mistakes en route to the good life, coming at you today with my daily podcast. Now, I was trying to think of, man, and maybe I'm gonna just have to hire somebody to do it, getting some type of like display, spin on screen, something to start off my podcast, how I see all these other videos and stuff like that on YouTube. And so they start off with this great display and then they get into their podcast, right? And every display is started off the same display on their podcast. And so I thought that was exciting, and I was on trying to do something on my phone today, trying to figure out how to do something exciting to spin off my podcast, but haven't just figured it out just yet, guys. So I am just here plugging away, figuring it out one day at a time. One day at a time, man. So I'm sipping a little bit of tea to take the chill off, because guys, I'm still sitting outside. I'm riding it out at nice little 45 degrees, 49 degrees or something like that this evening. And I'm just outside in on my little deck area, my little 3-season area. So I'm enjoying that as well. But the question for today, guys, before I get into today's podcast, I just want you guys to know, man, I have been rereading some old books. So one of the books I am starting to read once again today is this one, man. 48 Laws of Power. 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. I got a couple of other books on deck. My next book on deck after this one is Mindset by Carol Dweck. I believe I said that right. And that one was phenomenal. So I'm really going to be getting into that book. I'll probably be talking about it a little bit on my podcast. So as I was reading this book today, 48 Laws of Power, a question came across when one of the first laws, right? And it talked about outshining your master. So my question today, not your master, because we're not going antique, back in the biblical days. But believe it or not, we all have masters today, right? Somebody superior who just happens to be pulling the strings on our lives, especially if we're employees and we're working for somebody, man. We all have a form of a master, be it the business, be it the employer, be it the corporation, be it the marketplace, whatever it is, man. If you're not independently wealthy and doing what you want when you want, then you have some form of a master, guys. And so this one question is more about the person, the people master. So I want you guys to hear the question and hear it well, guys, because the question today is, have you been trying to outshine your master? Right? A lot of people these days, man, especially on social media, are always trying to front, right? Trying to show somebody this and show somebody that. Hey, look at me, boom, 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 bang my chest. This guy taught me this, but I'm outshining him now and I'm doing my thing. I learned this from this guy, but guess what? He has nothing on what I'm doing right now. Or this guy was my mentor and I'm coming up top because I'm coming on him strong. I'll be the next millionaire. I'll be the next this. I need to be the next master of whatever, guys. Whatever it is. And I see people doing it all the time, trying to get everybody else to jump on board to what they're doing by displaying their skills and telling everybody how great they are, what they're doing, as well as, a lot of them are just fronting. But, hey, got to be careful when you do that as well, guys. So when it comes to outshining your master, right, in all areas where you are trying to achieve greatness or mastery in your life, I have always spoken about seeking counsel. This is just my thing. I always spoke about seeking counsel from those who already walked that path. That is my thing, right? That is my whole thing with top 25 mistakes, man. Seeking counsel from people who already walked the path. Now, get this, and I've talked about this in my book just a little bit, right? Now, throughout my career, as well as in my life, I have always found this to be sound advice, right? Sound advice to seek knowledge from those who've already walked the path. It is the, in my opinion, it is the lowest hanging fruit and the path of least resistance. When you follow someone else's path, they have already paved. So understand that when we talk about this. But there's also something that I saw from far too many people throughout my career, right? And in their attempt to or their quest toward greatness, right? A lot of these people, what they often did was they were often derailed in their career by someone or something because of what they were doing, right? And this thing that derailed their careers and sometimes even their lives, right? I'm going to talk about that. I want to talk about that today. These individuals made the attempt to outshine their mentors, right? If somebody, you came to somebody in your humbleness, right? In your humbleness, in the beginning, right? You came to them. I want you to be my teacher. I want you to be my mentor. I want you to teach me to do this and to do that. You know, to learn this skill that I don't know. To teach me how to be a good business person, right? And so you go to them and you ask them these things, and so they agree. And I don't care whether you pay them or whether you don't pay them, whatever it is, they agree to teach you what they know so that you can achieve what they achieve, so you can walk the path that they already walked with ease and less friction, right? Saved you years on your life, right? So that's what you did. But you turned around as you started getting, your ego started talking to you, whispering to you, and through your display of greatness, your display of, you didn't go back and give your mentor credit, right? And you tried to outshine them, and you tried to do things that made you look good, as if all of the credit came from something that you pulled out of thin air. And so I see a lot of people do that far too often. They gain greatness on the backs of others, and then they turn around and they forget where they came from. They forget where they learned all of these skills. And a lot of times, guys, I'm going to tell you what, right? And I've seen this far too often. A lot of times, the masses started sensing it in you maybe halfway through your path and pulled back on some of the knowledge that was going to make you even greater than he was, right? Because I'll tell you what, if you are learning something from a mentor or teacher and you're giving them all the credit, and every time somebody comes to you, all you can do is talk about how great your mentor is and everything that they've done for you, and how, if it wasn't because of their advice, you aren't in a position, you wouldn't be in a position that you were. If you continually do that, right, your mentor probably won't ever have a problem allowing you to be greater than them, passing the reins, as we like to say, of mastery from themselves to you, and tell you, hey, this is everything and all that I know. Go ahead and take it. Run with it, right? Find somebody even greater than me and go ahead out there and do it. But if you go about it the other way, man, you are going to fall flat on your face, guys. I'm just letting you know when you try to outshine the mentor. Now, in most cases, as I told you, when you try to shine the mentor, this causes the master to pull back, as I said, or the knowledge tree that he's allowing you to climb. They feel it is under attack, right? It is under attack maybe because of your arrogance, guys. You got to understand that sometimes. Or, listen, you may be learning from somebody who's your mentor who may not be, he may be great in mathematics or great in psychology or great in some other things. But when it comes to his ego is fragile. So by you shining and showing everybody the skills and everything that you learn, he may also take that as an attack, right? Just your personality alone may be too bubbly, too happy, too excited, and he doesn't like that. So he may feel offended with that. So understand that as we go on with this, right? But the one of the many things, right, that I learned from this book, the Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, was never to outshine the mentor. And this is just the first law, right? Never to outshine never to outshine the master, as Robert Greene liked to say. And I'll quote him a little bit on this. He says, always make those above you feel comfortably superior, right? Feel comfortably superior. Okay? In your desire to please or impress them, do not go too far in displaying your talents, or you might inspire fear and insecurity. Now understand that. Fear and insecurity just come from maybe they feel like, oh my God, I've taught him too much. He learned too fast. He is going to topple me from my position of power where I'm at. So you got to understand that, guys, that this may be going through their minds at all times. And if it's going through their minds at all times, man, you got to be careful of how you're going about gathering information and then displaying what you learned to other people. So understand that, right? Now, I found that if you always raise them up, right? And I did this in my career. Always raise up your superiors, right? Especially to others, right? You let others know how great they are. Let others know how superior they are. Let others know that they're your boss, man. I always say, hey, boss, how you doing, boss? And a lot of people take that as, kissing ass, right? And it's not about kissing ass. It's about the fact that I'm gaining knowledge at such a rapid pace that I have to cloud. I have to put up a whole full smoke screen because I know in my heart of hearts that I'm at a position where I'm almost equal to where my mentor is, and I don't want to stop learning, and I don't want to have him in a position to cut me down right where I'm at, because you could be as knowledgeable as you want, but as I tell you guys, there's a point of where if the master fears that your growth is too fast and too rapid, they may just cut you down, regardless of the fact that they're teaching you, regardless of the fact that they're a mentor, regardless of that. They right now have the connections that you need. So you need to be smart about how you're learning and how you're going about growing as you learn, right? But I always tell people that my mentor is more brilliant than they actually are. It doesn't even matter what other people think. Other people say, oh man, you're way smarter than him. I don't run with that. I never run with that. I always make sure that people are always hearing me talk about my mentor and how good he is, how great he is, the knowledge that he has. And I always make him far better than I am so I can continue to learn from him. And believe it or not, this is a skill that he taught me. And because he taught me the skill, I knew that it was something that I needed to do in reverse back to him. So I do it so that I can reach even higher heights than my mentor has achieved. So it allows you to continue to grow without friction, as I like to say, right? So now, guys, listen. In the world of law enforcement, and I say that with a laugh, right? Because it is a vicious world, right? In the world of law enforcement, this philosophy holds true to an absolute fault, right? It holds true to an absolute fault when I talk about law enforcement and never trying to outshine your master. And it probably goes true in the military as well, guys. I can speak on my 30 years of law enforcement, 28 years of law enforcement, and in law enforcement, trying to outshine someone who's superior to you is what they call career suicide, right? They call it career suicide because, and I'll explain why. The rank structure, the testing, and political appointments at any given time, right, can put several of what I like to call position masters calling the shots over your everyday activities as well as your career, right? So I call them position masters because they haven't gained the skill, right? They haven't gained the skill. They haven't developed the experience, but because they were appointed, because maybe they tested well several times, they are now in a position to call the shots over your everyday activities in your everyday life, your assignments, and everything that you do, guys. So these position masters, right? As sad as it sounds, right? Rarely are people that are appointed in law enforcement, very rarely that people that are appointed in law enforcement, okay, appointed based on their merits in the field, things that they have done, things that they have earned. And that's just the life of politics and law enforcement and how it blends to sometimes make it a very, very bad situation for people who are trying to do the right thing, for people who are trying to make change, for people who are trying to have some solid growth in their career and come up the ladder and be in a position to make change or even be in a position to suggest change. So a lot of times when you get political appointees, they have somebody in power over them who they can't outshine. So then in turn you get the same thing over and over again for the last 150 years of law enforcement, right? So that is the sad state of affairs, guys, in law enforcement. So let's go on. So what I want to say is, guys, is when it comes to learning from someone who happens to be the master of their craft. So you may not be learning from the person in power, but you are learning from somebody who has came up the ranks, who knows a whole lot, right? And so because you're learning from him and the person above him sees that, it may stir up some resentment. It may stir up some insecurities from the position of the master, who would then in turn be less likely to help you throughout your career, right? Because as in law enforcement, positions change and people rise higher, and some people move on to different careers, be appointed to different positions. And so you're learning from a master, and while someone who's mastered their craft, but then you get somebody above him who is a position master who doesn't see favorable to that person. What they do is everyone who has learned from him, everyone who is below him, everyone who is around him, when things happen in your career, as they will, that aren't favorable to you, they will look down on you and they will make sure that the maximum penalty falls upon you in those situations. So you have to be very, very careful when you're learning from someone who has mastered craft in law enforcement. And during your whole career, you got to be careful, right? So it's almost as if you have to learn in public but display your skills in secret, right? I know it's all cloak and dagger, guys, but it is what it is in a career such as that, right? That holds the lives of people in their hands. Now, I've had this happen to me far too many times during my career, and I had to learn how to identify these insecurities before they ruined my career. Now, I was an academy instructor, I was an academy sergeant, and everybody above me in those positions at the academy were political appointees or appointed by the academy, right? There are very few people there that earned their spot, right? Earned their spot as an academy administrator, earned their spot to actually be able to teach and train recruits to be the best that they could be. Very few people have earned that position because it started to become who I know, and once you know somebody, they'll place you in a position just because of a conversation that you had in the past or someone you learn from who they see favor in, and that is how it goes, guys. But when people come in charge in those positions, you have to now walk on eggshells throughout your career. Especially me as an academy instructor, I had to walk on eggshells a lot of times for things that I didn't see favor in, things that made me feel uncomfortable, things that I couldn't talk about, or things that I couldn't teach, that I had learned, skills that I had developed, because the person above me had the insecurities of not allowing people to outshine them, not allowing people to be their own selves. And so that is one of the faults that you have to pay attention to and identify so that it doesn't ruin your entire career. And trust me, guys, trust me, I've gotten thrown out the academy several times as an instructor, as a sergeant, okay? And I've been kicked to the curb and then brought back just because I happen to have a certain skill set, guys. So understand that, right? Brought back because you got a certain skill set, but kicked out because you have a certain skill set. So understand that as we go further when we talk about the academy. But so when you learn to identify the insecurities of people that are above you, it helps you to better navigate your career and better navigate your life, right? Because here's the deal. Everyone has insecurities. I have insecurities. You have insecurities, right? And so what's important for you to understand is that it doesn't matter about everyone who you work with, your subordinates, not your subordinates, but maybe your subordinates and people that are working with you. It doesn't matter about their insecurities when it comes to, you can't worry about every single person's insecurities and still have a great career and still live a great life. But you do need to pay attention to your superiors' insecurities, right? Those who are above you, those who reign above your schedule, your hours, your life, and your activities each and every day. You have to pay attention to those who you may need to learn from, for those who have mastered the game, okay? And you need to rise to that position. So in order to rise to that position, you have to learn from them. So you need to pay attention to their insecurities. Those are the insecurities that are important, right? Because when you begin to learn from them, you want to make sure that you are not outshining them, that you are not making them look as if, hey, this guy learned from you, and now look, he's outshining you. This guy learned from you, and now you look absolutely ridiculous in some of the skills that you're supposed to be the master at, because he's doing it so well or he's doing it so different. So you have to be very, very careful for that, because as I said before, that can be career suicide. You never want to insult your mentor, your teacher's intelligence, okay? You never want to insult their charisma, okay? Or attack their charisma, and you don't want to attack their charm. And I want you guys to understand that you can do this just by being yourself, guys. Just by being who you are. You just may have a powerful character, right? And that powerful character, you got to learn how to tone it down sometime if you're going to truly learn from somebody who is a master at their craft, somebody who is doing something that you would like to do, something that you would like to learn from. Sometimes you got to learn how to tone down who you are in order to get as much knowledge as possible and go as far as possible. So when you display rapid growth, right? When you display rapid growth, or you talk about rapid advancement to your superiors, that in turn immediately is a trigger button, a hot button, because especially those appointed, right? Those appointed, when you talk about stuff like that, they automatically think that because they knew somebody and got appointed, now all of a sudden you've made a move and you know somebody and you're going to get appointed in their position, and so they begin to fight back against you through different means throughout your job, man. And a lot of times it can be to the point of where they'll literally try to get you fired. I've seen people trump up charges I've had charges trumped up against me for absolute nonsense throughout my career because someone was just happened to be just a little bit jealous of who I was learning from, and that I learned so rapidly, and that I rose to a position where I got appointed somewhere, and the person who they wanted to be appointed didn't get appointed. So in turn, they trumped up all type of charges against me. And I was in law enforcement, by the way. Trumped up all type of, which is very easy to trump up charges, by the way. Trumped up all type of charges against me and tried to get me knocked out of the position I was in. Fortunately, I had good representation and it didn't go anywhere. But it's just the fact that I was trying to shine too much to show the person who was mentoring me that I was really gaining the knowledge and I was ready to step into a position that he wanted me to step into. So you guys got to be careful of that as well. So in wrapping this up, I just wanted to say some important things that you guys need to understand in order to make sure that you navigate the best way possible throughout your career, throughout your life, and I tell you, to stay under the radar of your superiors until, right? And I don't mean stay under the radar as in don't do your job. I mean stay under the radar as in when they're showing you and you're growing, to not try to outshine them to others to make them feel bad about themselves or their insecurities, right? That's what I'm telling you not to do. So anyway, some important things that I want you to understand is number one, right? You can outshine your superiors just by being yourself. So, in other words, as I said before, your character can be one of such, maybe they're a shy person, right? And again, give you an example. Maybe your mentor, your superior who is teaching you is a shy person, right? And in them being shy, right, you're outgoing. So you learn a skill from them, maybe like copywriting or coding or something like that, and you're very charismatic with everybody that you're learning from. You're around people and you're talking to them, and your mentor starts to shut down the things that they teach you because now that you learned so much more, your charisma is making them feel inferior. So just by being yourself, you can outshine them. So I want you guys to understand that and pay close attention to it. You know, if you really want to begin to know your master and your mentor, I suggest that you tap into this book right here that I'm reading, Peter Drucker, Managing Oneself. Read this book, keep it in your pocket, okay, and always refer to it when it comes to knowing, right, your bosses, your mentors, your superiors, everybody who is above you, so that you can truly know how to navigate the best life possible. Second important thing that I want you guys to know is just because, right, your mentor, teacher, master sees favor in you in the beginning, right? In the beginning, when you're a pup, when you're just learning, when you're green, right? When you're green, you may display certain attitudes, certain eagerness that you display in the beginning, that once you start to learn, especially in law enforcement, once you start to learn, I've watched how people in the beginning, they were so not naive, but so willing to learn, and then when they felt that they learned just enough, their entire personality changed, their entire ego changed, right? They really thought that they were the shit now because they had learned, you know, maybe a year's worth of law enforcement material, and they think that they got the world by the balls and they had all the answers, man. And those are the people, man, that when the shit hits the fan, when things get bad, their mentor no longer has their back. Their teacher no longer has their back. Their master, their superior, backs off of them and lets them crash and burn because they are trying to outshine the master. They're trying to outshine the mentor, the teacher. So understand that, guys. Understand that. Your intelligence, your popularity, as you rise in power, all of that, right? You need to pay attention to it. that is not making your mentor, your master look bad. So understand that, guys. Those are two things that I wanted to tell you guys. Now know this, right? Know this well, and use it to your favor. Okay, because these things right here have helped me to rise in my career to as high as I would wanted to rise. I could have gone much higher if I wanted, but I didn't want to go out of my uniform and into politics, so I didn't want to go that route. But these things helped me to rise and help me to continue to learn as much as possible from my mentors and my masters, as long as I could learn from them. So understand these three things, and I use them often. Flattery will get you everywhere, guys. Flattery. And I know that a lot of people call it a whole lot of things, guys, but everyone loves to be flattered. Okay? Just make sure that when you do it, you're extremely crafty when you do it, right? And make sure when you do it, don't be so cheesy about it. You can flatter somebody, and I'm not talking about their good looks. I'm talking about their intelligence, man. Their intelligence, or how they happen to do something with ease, right? Something that they taught you that now you do with ease. Okay, give them a compliment about that. You know, that is a powerful form of flattery. Okay, the second thing that I use very well is I allow credit to my superiors for ideas that are going public, right? If the public is going to hear about something that I thought of, it is all my superior's idea. I don't take any credit for it. I give it to them and I allow them to run with it. If they want to take full credit for it, then let them go ahead and do it. Me, when I was a superior of tons of subordinates, if they gave me credit, I made sure that I flipped it right back on them and their efforts. You know, and that's what a good leader does. But you won't always get that from somebody who is your mentor or your teacher or your master. Sometimes they need that. And so they just take it in and they don't give you any credit, man. But I always allow credit for any ideas that go toward my superiors. It's not that important. Credit is not as important as the knowledge that you gain through learning from someone that's above you, that's a master at what you're trying to learn. Okay? The next thing I want to tell you guys about is never worry about disguising your strengths. Right? Understand this part. Never worry about disguising